Welcome to Sound Body Wisdom. I want you to take a journey with me. So, on this journey, we're going to explore the vast potential and the power of our lives, these bodies, and our minds. Because I am so passionate about sharing this exploration because it changes lives towards finding more nourishment, more joy, and towards thriving. And I can't help but be excited about each of us and the possibilities that live within. So, my inner scientist and geek and philosopher is going to do everything to stay close with you as I shift gears throughout different territories of information. And I just really hope my enthusiasm encourages you to dive in and you can feel me as your ally throughout this practice. All right, so I believe in radical self-love as a way through which to experience ourself and lives with new perspective. Developing our core from a place of unconditional love is each of our potential, and it's super juicy and exciting. You'll probably notice me repeating how amazingly resourced each of us is. I feel like we've spent so much of our lives hearing things to the contrary that I just feel like we deserve to have it shouted from the mountaintops, that it deserves to be repeated, how amazing we are. So the wisdom and brilliance that every person has within them is something I feel in my bones. It's a deep knowing that it informs everything, how I see and I feel and I experience this living. So my excitement here will be combined with a focus on conveying the science and the biology and hopefully just the right amounts. If you start to get lost in the tone of all the words or the details, just take a breath, hit pause anywhere in the podcast and just step back for as long as you need. The information is important, but we also don't want it to short circuit how joyful this practice of the self can be. We're in this together to discover a new way of living that touches every thread of your life. So, as far as I'm concerned, love is our superpower. It's true. Love is our superpower. And everything I offer really stems from this radical space of unconditional love. It's then further compelled by, all the studies, the research, and the science. But love is what will allow us to draw closer to those challenging parts within us, our conditioning, our habits. Love will lay the foundation for compassion and curiosity instead of criticism or attempts to maybe strong-arm change within us. I call this space of love and compassion radical because it's so far outside the status quo, our everyday living. Like love and compassion are radical because of how distant we've become from their essence and the potential we draw upon when we reconnect to their power. The cool thing about the essence of love is that it exists in abundance and it can be given freely and without conditions. Each of us can tap the power of love if we're just able to get out of our own way and sort of the pitfalls that have been set in place through the habits or the conditioning. Love is a resource to give and receive. It keeps us healthy and it opens us to new possibility. I might not want to be friends with everyone or even like everyone, but I do practice having love for everyone, and this would include myself. In fact, it needs to start with myself because that's how I learn and that's how I'm able to have love for everyone else. So love without conditions sees beyond the stories we tell and the needs of all our different parts and generates from our wise, expansive self. So whether you're working with, healing old wounds or shifting debilitating or depleting habits, changing how you react to situations, or just feeling more joy in your life, or alleviating stress or other emotions that might drain you, or just freeing yourself from other limitations. Unconditional self-love in action can help do all this and more. So my question is, are you ready to sort of free up this power within you? So this practice is a guide for doing that. It's a guide for thriving. It's really a guide for inspired and practical ways to understand what's happening behind the scenes of who we are by accessing powerful tools, insights, and a whole lot of science. But, in manageable, bite-sized pieces. So there's so many factors that affect how we feel, our behaviors, our health, the choices we make, and the thoughts we have every day. Many of these factors remain sort of invisible to us if we don't cultivate our awareness and invest in knowing more about ourselves. I'll be honest and say that switching things up, it can be awkward. And it might include a shift in perspective to approach sort of the old with a new lens. But I will also boldly state that it's a total life changer. And I would say this to everyone, whether they're a lifelong meditation student, have already developed a healing practice, or are just totally new to all of this. Each of us, we start from wherever we are. There's always space for new insight in our lives because we're always growing. And the unconscious is a clever mechanism that keeps us on our toes. And truly, the best part about this practice is that it already belongs to you. It belongs to every one of us because everything you need is already within you. All right, so doing this work, I say this a lot, it's like touching the invisible. And I use the word invisible because so much of what we think and feel is shaped through habits, conditioning, and functioning of our unconscious. And, most often we don't even realize our unconscious is pulling the strings and shaping our lives. It can be running the show, but in a way that is not directly visible to us. There are aspects of this that are really cool, really helpful, and totally necessary. But there's others that might be wreaking some havoc or holding us back or limiting us in some way. So we can use tools to help us, touch this invisible and directly address these unconscious mechanisms. So our conditioning is a part of this. It's of this invisible because it can be so seamlessly woven into the fabric of who we are, and it's just stored in the unconscious. But with this practice of awareness, we begin to see patterns and we get clues. We begin to glimpse the space between our hopes and our instincts and happiness in contrast to our current habits. We can use the tools of awareness and kindness and choice to change our patterns of conditioning into something new. Okay, so how can we make lasting changes? If we want lasting change, we need to go to the source that hangs out below the surface of our consciousness. We need to develop our awareness, and we need to develop this relationship between our conscious and our unconscious. We make space, we ask questions, and yes, we practice. We commit to a consistent practice. We cultivate the space of our awareness so that we're able to engage our conscious mind, allowing us to moderate and interact with the unconscious, and allowing for the changes we want and we need. The relationship between the conscious and the unconscious is a constant dance of give and take. So first, you have to realize there's even a dance floor. Then you get yourself on it and you learn how to practice some moves. As much as we can understand the basic mechanics of how humans function, each of us is still completely unique. It's truly incredible. Read any of the latest research and you'll find that the development of each of our brains and bodies and all our systems, it's almost like a snowflake. No two are alike. So this means that each of us will need to invest our own energy, curiosity, and intuition into discovering whether what we've developed, like the habits, the perceptions, the thoughts, emotions, responses, do they nourish us? There's no cookie cutter path for this work. And any method can help only insofar as it inspires us, and we can then know the next moves to make. Even this practice, it's not one of answers. Gosh, no, it's definitely not one of answers, but tools that you bring to your life. So your investment is what breathes life and dimension into anything that I propose. And nothing I offer will be passive or really static in nature. Everything really is participatory, and how you choose to meet this invitation of this practice is totally up to you. Your continual commitment to it is what will lead you to your own growing insights. Ultimately, this is a laboratory of the self. And I hope to offer tools and springboards and sparks of insight to support you on your journey. All right, So are you just like a little excited or curious at this point? All right, because this practice asks you to step out of your ordinary. I mean, there will be continual propositions and exercises that ask you to reflect on your life in terms of your habits or language, perceptions, thoughts, emotions. It asks you to be curious about these many things we often take for granted. We take them for granted as simply being a part of who we are. Like, for example, it's amazing to realize how much we don't question things as ubiquitous and influential as our inner language. You'd be surprised at the volume of inner content that's actually just conditioning and doesn't serve you, even though it's an active participant influencing your daily behavior. You'll step out of the ordinary of your conditioning by building the strength of your awareness, interrupting current habits, and learning to make new choices. I mean, the shifts in your awareness are not meant to happen all at once, but day by day, moment to moment. It may seem awkward at first, but just as learning to walk took some like clumsy first maneuvers, this too will become second nature. All right, so let's talk about our mind body brilliance. We are more than what we seem and greater than any singular idea of physiology or consciousness. What we currently understand about the body and the brain is that they are amazing instruments that we still have so much to learn about. And yet we understand they are exquisite in their capacity to adapt to their environment, to heal, change, seek wellness, and thrive. So the brain, which includes the central nervous system, and the body, they're in constant dialogue and affecting each other all the time through our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and more. We now have research confirming beyond doubt that mind body relationship is fundamental to our health and our wellness. So, tapping into the intelligence of our minds and bodies is compelling because it's something available to each of us. Some of this intelligence can be understood through the objectivity of science, but the rest is there for our subjective exploration. And even with all the research available, the best way any of us can come to trust, understand, and access our mind body potential is through personal experimentation and practice. As this field and research grows, I'm profoundly inspired because we're moving towards increased understanding of how empowered we truly are. So, my intention in this practice is to offer a solid base of information so you can connect your own dots between the tools and the practices and yourself. Because, having some understanding of why all this works, it really empowers you towards learning how to improvise, especially when you get a little lost, as we all do, and you really want to keep going and not get stuck. Improvisation is going to help you keep moving and working with whatever's going on. So remember, I'm right here with you as we traverse this landscape. Whether it's science, biology, exercises, or firsthand experiences, I will strive to make it accessible and clear and hopefully inspiring as we go along. So the basic foundation for this practice, it really is your awareness. Awareness is another one of our superpowers. And when I say superpower, I really mean it. Because awareness is the precursor to so much of our empowerment and transformation. Awareness perpetuates our freedom by allowing us to reconnect to the source of unconditional love within us. So the more awareness we have, the more choice that's available to us. And guess what happens when we have more choice? It means we can be living with less limitation and more thriving. I know many scientists question whether choice and free will truly exist and propose that, choice is just an illusion. But I believe in a middle ground. Yeah, we know we are profoundly influenced by our neurons and our chemicals and our overall biology. But I simultaneously believe that we have the ability to interact and intervene and choose through engaging our conscious mind and developing our awareness. It's almost like there's this sweet spot of possibility where we have all this space yet to discover. It's a dance between our physiology, awareness, and what we believe. So none of these are measurable, and yet that doesn't matter because we don't need to know every dimension, detail, and attribute. We can take what we do know and create more choice by working within this space of possibility that dwells somewhere between the unconscious and conscious mind, that middle ground between free will and just strict biology. So the brilliance is that we can each have more choice in how we feel and experience our lives. The degree to which we do this is based on how we develop our awareness and what makes sense for us individually. So the goal here is not to try for ultimate control over everything, but to simply grow the potential that is within this space of our awareness, within our reach. We can increase our ability to choose on so many levels. And choice empowers us and allows us to make changes in aspects of ourselves and our lives that, maybe drain or limit or disconnect us from our core resources. So just as we can't control the weather, we realize we can't control everything in our inner and outer worlds. But even though weather happens, we use our awareness to make choices for an umbrella or a change of timing or perhaps a jacket. This awareness, followed up with choice, it offers us the comfort of the umbrella or the jacket, ease and wellness in meeting these external elements. This can also be applied to our lives and our inner elements. So whether or not free will exists, it doesn't change this sweet spot of possibility where we can enact choice and change in our lives. Because you know what? We really, each of us, is more powerful than we know. This living is a laboratory for growth and for learning. Life by definition is about change and evolution. We're not meant to be stuck. Becoming unstuck is not always a comfortable process, but it's a key ingredient for a nourishing life. This practice, it really is here to help you discover all the invisible threads that influence and help you find your curiosity and kindness towards them, to develop a new relationship with them. Learning to not merely survive, but truly thrive, it's our birthright. Living beyond limitations is possible for each of us as we realize that most limitations can be thought patterns or habits or belief systems we've learned along the way. As you change your mind and biology, your perception and perpetuation of limitations can dissolve. And the limitations I'm talking about are the internal ones, the self-imposed ones. So the essence of how you live actually becomes interacting and making choices as opposed to just allowing the conditioned habits to run the show or run on autopilot. You can find more freedom in a life where you participate in the experience. Because in whatever way we direct the mind, we direct our experiences and the creation of our world, our reality. So this practice reminds you how to unconditionally love and embrace your authentic self. Because, it can be really easy for this natural state of inherent love and kindness to get totally clouded over with conditioned patterns. So we just need to remember that we can create an unwavering love of self that becomes that inner compass to untangle so many habits and compulsions towards, negativity or judgments or simply an absence of love. So this compass guides you towards coming to know your own inherent significance, as well as seeing it in others. And I tell you what, a world where every individual can feel this wisdom without exception is a world that really compels me. So this practice it's really about transformation, because life is about transformation, and transformation, it takes some courage because it involves letting go of what feels familiar in exchange for something new and unknown. We open ourselves to transformation when we step outside of any box we may have created or adopted. Transformation is about creating fundamental shifts at your core as opposed to just symptomatic relief to get by. On this journey, our challenges can become our opportunities and our teachers. And I know this may sound cliche, but trusting and connecting to this, that they can be opportunities and teachers, it can help so much. Even when situations and challenges feel uncomfortable, there's so much more resource available to you when you work with them as opposed to against them. This practice is about moving out of any habits and patterns that limit you by transforming your core relationship with all parts of yourself. These limitations may be totally obvious, or perhaps you're still discovering them, but you're the only one who can discern the changes needed to cultivate transformation. This means learning to follow your own instincts and meet your life in a new way. And this practice moves with you to develop your inner skills so that you can be empowered to choose and continually transform what you desire for living. You really do become your own expert and resource for growth. You know, each of us has an instinctive drive to thrive. It's this drive that will continually speak to you through your wisdom and your intuition. Every moment and experience of your life will contribute in some way on this journey. Like, your emotions can become a source of energy to be tapped. Your thoughts and perceptions can be expanded so you become more flexible to life's situations. You learn to connect to the vast resource that dwells within you. Are you willing to make this commitment to yourself? Then take this leap. Find the layers of the self to peel back, to question, to love, and to evolve with curiosity and kindness. I mean, wherever you are on this path is where you begin, right? Whether you've meditated for 10 years or not 1 minute, you're familiar with the language that I'm speaking, or it's like a totally foreign language. We're all navigating forward from this moment. This is not a practice for a special few, but a life practice for any and all who choose. I mean, it might feel awkward or uncomfortable at first, and yes, it would just be easier to simply stay with the existing patterns. But this quickly shifts because, our bodies and our minds are wired for making these changes. It's like uncovering the superpowers we've had since birth and not only learning how to use them, but enjoy them. So, of course, we have our own unique blind spots and challenges for uncovering these superpowers. But through tools and experimentation, you'll discover what works best for you and continue to grow with it for the rest of your life, because we never stop learning and life is about growing. So, here is the invitation. Wherever you are on this journey, find your curiosity to unwind habits and conditioning that limit you or create stress or diminish your experience of life. Lay down your preconceived ideas of how you should be. Loosen the grip of tightly held assumptions. Open your heart and mind to unknown potential. Suspend any judgments or stories. Soften your ideas of right and wrong. Bring kindness to the table. Trust that every part of you has something to offer, no matter what it looks like. Make a radical move to soften into love and into yourself. Let yourself be available to shed the limitations of your habits and your hesitation towards change so you can enter this practice with a space to receive. Make a leap of faith towards yourself. I'm right here. I believe in you and I see your superpowers. So what do you say? Let's do this. All right. This has been Sound Body Wisdom. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. And as always, feel free to contact me through my website, soundbodywisdom.com, with any comments or questions. And I'll talk to you next time.